story out there, and you can get in touch in many, many ways. Say email, you can call Lynn's. Lynn's is ready to take that call right now, 08000 85 95 95. Or you can write a book and then send us a letter in that book and send it to us in the post, because that's exactly what Bear's done. Bear Lawrence, he's from Stockton. And he's written about something I think is really not talked about as much as it should do. Now, chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME, is a long-term condition with a huge spectrum of symptoms. And I mean like a massive spectrum of symptoms. The most common symptom, extreme tiredness. It's complex. It's misunderstood. A lot of people sort of like look and say, what is that? Now, Bear, he's from, as I say, he's from Stockton-on-Tees. And he's had a long and varied career. What a gadge. What a bloke. And he received his diagnosis and he wanted to share his story about how he coped with that diagnosis and about how he came about writing the book.
I've got ME, and I was having trouble telling people about the illness. My GP suggested that I write an article about it because I've written quite a lot of scientific papers because I used to be a university lecturer. So I thought, I'll write the article, stick it in the parish news, and then the 2,000 homes this goes to, it might get read. Anyway, I finished the article, and the editor of the newsletter said it's another 2 weeks before the deadline. It'll probably be another couple of weeks before it lands on your doorstep. I tend towards being a bit impatient. So I thought I'll stick it on Facebook, and I put it on a page for people with ME. And the response was just unbelievable. It was getting, you can like tick, love or like or care about once every minute. And it was getting read all around the world. And within 2 weeks, it'd been read thousands of times. So I thought, that's great, but it's only been read by ME people, and I want to educate others. And then I realised it's one thing to raise awareness about the illness, and by now I'd been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, another similar illness. What about doing something for, and I use the phrase, people touched by these illnesses, because it's not just the sufferer, it's the families and friends. So I started writing articles to help them, and before I knew it, I had 10 stories. So I thought, if you just thread these articles together with the backstory, you'll have a book. And within no time, I had a book.
It's an amazing journey to get to that point. You've had a life well lived. You're university lecturer, helicopter pilot, landscape gardener. You've done many, many things. To be diagnosed with something like ME, which I know is amazingly debilitating, that must mean a hammer blow to you.
It's all right. The first 2 years were really difficult. Really difficult. But I had a bit of an epiphany. I got that word off Jeremy Clarkson. I'm
glad that's the only thing you got off him.
Yeah. And I was walking the dog, because that's what I do now.
Yeah.
You do anything to get better. I take supplements every day. I haven't done a blind bit of good, but you cling to hope. I once bought this TENS machine and started electrocuting myself in the way that I'd read online to do. It was horrendous. I spent a day curled in a ball in bed. But one of the things, there's other things, like mindfulness and all this sort of stuff. So I'm walking along, and I just asked myself the question, how are you feeling? And I said, I'm grieving. Yes, I said, I'm grieving. So I asked myself, what are you grieving for? And I just spoke out loud, grieving for myself. I knew a little bit about grief, so I read up again about it. And the original work was 5 stages of grief, and it was about people with fatal illnesses. But it meant I could complete my journey of grief, and it took a couple of months. And I'm perhaps not entirely over it.
It must be still raw.
It is.
When did you get the diagnosis?
August 2020.
So it is still quite fresh.
Yeah. But it made because I'd like sort of finished grieving, I don't know whether you ever truly will, but I started to see joy in life again. It was in the spring when this happened, and I started to notice the snowdrops come up and buds on the trees, and I found a joy in it. And the blue tits nested in a bird box I'd put in the tree. Just everything seemed to have more meaning and joy. Just take joy in the things around you, in little things.
How does the ME manifest itself with you?
I was already suffering from stress, and I got a viral infection. I was in bed for 7 weeks. And after I recovered, possibly I never did because I've got ME, I would do something like hoover the floor, or I'd mow the lawn, and I'd be absolutely drenched in sweat, and my limbs would be shaking, like I was so fatigued. I couldn't drink anything until I'd calmed down a bit. You don't sleep properly, you just wake up absolutely exhausted all the time. And I just knew there was something wrong, but I had no idea what it was. And you just start to discover other little things that are wrong. Like I realised I couldn't count, which was a bit bizarre. This all happened I'd just finished getting out of bed with the viral infection just before COVID. And so we went into lockdown. And my partner has a restaurant, and he had to shut, obviously. And after a couple of weeks, she said, right, we'll do Sunday lunch takeaways. And she'd furloughed the chefs. So she was going to have to do it on her own. So I thought, naturally, I'll help her. The idea was, within the Sunday lunch, everybody would get 3 roast potatoes. We didn't know how many people were going to do them for, would order. So we said, right, let's do them for 80. I'd start peeling, chopping them up, and I knew how many I had. And I'd start counting, and I just couldn't. I'd get to 10 or a bit more, and I'd get lost, and I'd just forget.
Wow.
So the first couple of weeks, she had to count the potatoes, and she'd say, you need to do a few more. You've done a few too many, but stick them in water. And I thought, I don't know what's wrong, but I have to get over this. What I didn't realise is the symptom of ME is your concentration span's minimal. You've got poor short-term memory, poor long-term memory recall. So I'd forget. Have I done 30? Have I done 60? Have I done 90? So I came up with a solution to that. So a commercial kitchen's got loads of pans. So I got this particular pan that I would use every week, and I knew that 90 potatoes went up to the rivets on the handle. Right. But it's still not going to weigh this. I still can't count, but you find your way around it.
You're a pragmatist. You're a pathfinder. You want to find solutions. Is that what helped you?
Yeah. For quite a while, I battled on cleaning the house because I can't work. And, I'm not bringing money into the house. So I thought, I'll clean the house and I'll do the lawn, and that'll be, chop the firewood. I've got a stove, and that'll be my contribution. And I just realised I was killing myself trying to clean the house. And, when you're in a lot of pain, of fatigue, you're not much fun. So I thought, I'm better off spending £20 on a cleaner once a fortnight and having a clean house, unlike my attempt at it, and saving myself them few hours of cleaning the house up.
Is it the learning process that you learn with ME what your limits are? I think, and accepting those limits.
Yeah, I think learning your energy levels and accepting them is one of the toughest things.
Yes, it is.
I'll never give up hope that I'll get better. But the reality is, if you've had this for 2 years, not a lot of people do recover. So I have to accept it without giving up hope.
What do the clinicians say to you when you go to the doctor? What is the prognosis they give to you?
From what I understand from the ME community is a lot of medical people treat ME as if it doesn't exist.
I didn't want to say that, but there is that thought that it's a psychosomatic thing.
That's right. But I was very lucky. My GP has been great and understands the condition. If you know an ME person and you've known them before, you'll know the change in them. You don't be a helicopter pilot and a university lecturer and I've raced karts and motorbikes and then can't get out of bed. You're not lazy. Something's wrong.
You're a very talented writer, can I say?
Thank you.
No, you genuinely are. What does it feel like when you're putting it down onto a book? You're letting this pour through you. Do you have a feeling of fondness, happiness?
It's a mixture of the times in your life.
Does it help you?
It does, but it's hard work. I think if you were to define my writing, it's honesty. You know, it's from the soul. So it can be really upsetting at times. But, you know, I've got one of the chapters I think is called Happier Times, and there's a chapter called 2 Dark Years, and you can tell the difference when you're writing them. But it is getting easier, you know.
And I think you're brilliant. So give us again the title of the book and where can we buy it?
It's called Bear With Me, or Bear With Me, depending on how you read it. It's available exclusively on Amazon. And I'm Bear Lawrence.
What an interesting, fascinating human being. Wonderful man. Spent time on his sofa in his living room on a wet, dark, miserable night. His fire was on and he makes the best coffee he ever does, Bear. He really, really does. And that's his story. And that's what we're here for. If we can get your voice out there, and that's what we'll do. We're your BBC Radio Tees. And look, I'm not here from 9 to 5. I'm whenever's suitable for you. I can work around you to come and see you. Don't worry about that. No problem whatsoever. I can pop out any time you want to come and see you if that suits you. And listen to us, Terry Chapman. He says, Graz, just listening to Bear. Grief visits us in lots of forms due to many reasons. Life-changing illness to loved ones results in such a complex feeling of loss. Good luck to everybody dealing with ME and chronic fatigue, and good luck to Bear. This is your BBC Radio Tees.